everyone. Welcome to our Big Idea podcast. We've got a really special guest on today, Car Guy Jake. Anybody whose email includes a reference to a biblical verse is okay with me. Jake, we're thrilled to have you. Tell everybody a little bit about yourself, what you do, how you do it, and thank you so much for joining us today.
Awesome. Thank you, Larry. I appreciate you guys. Always humbled to be asked to do anything that's collaborating with some amazing people, and you guys are amazing. So I actually, I go by Car Guy Jake. I'm in the car business, obviously. I have kind of a Jake of all trades title before that. I've done pretty much everything before I got in the car business. And what I have found in my experiences is that to be successful, you really have to just focus on your purpose. Your results usually work themselves out if you can do that, And for me, I come with a military background, truck driving background. I've got more kids than the law should allow, and all that kind of tempered me and gave me a lot of patience before I was ever stepped foot in the car business. I was 44 before I sold my first car. And it's hilarious because I've been told probably since I was a teenager that I needed to be in car sales. I absolutely am a motorhead, and I absolutely love people, and and just those two combinations alone and a great work ethic, I feel like pretty much anybody can be successful in the car business. But I mean, I guess I could translate to any business if you really truly focus on your purpose.
Dude, Jake, I'm with you 100%. I always, when I train, I always go in strange paths. And one of them is I like to know what everyone's philosophy is, because I believe you have to understand what it is you're trying to accomplish and why you're trying to accomplish it. You've got 3:16 in. I lean on Ecclesiastes. Whatever thy hand shall find, do it with all thy might. I never understood people that show up not to work hard. I mean, I always say, if you're going to be a bum, be a bum. I'm okay with that. It's silly, but do it. But why would you go to work and not want to work? Why wouldn't you want to accomplish and look at your watch or your iPhone or whatever, go, wow, it's time to go home. The day flew by.
Yes, sir. I'm complete in agreement with that. I grew up in South Georgia on a farm, and then I worked as an industrial millwright, working on machinery. Then I went and joined the Army. I was in the Army until they blew me up. After that, they didn't want me. I got medically discharged. And then after which I started going, trying to figure out how to be a civilian. Once I got into the kind of the automotive space, it was the Harley Davidson world, and I got into that and started being very successful very quickly. I moved up from just day one into retail to general manager under 4 years, and ran the store for a little while. We became very successful in that period. And then I went over and took over the service department once the dealership was sold. So I ran a service department coming from parts and service. I really think gave me a huge advantage when I did decide to come into the car business and go on the variable side of the house and start selling as well, because it really helped me mesh between the two departments very, very well. Having that knowledge, that experience, and the actual verbiage because there's verbiage with every job. When I was driving a truck, my CB handle was State Farm, so there's tons of different verbiage, for every industry out there. And marrying those two together, I get pretty much all the service turnovers. I get all the service technicians, things like that. And I was very frustrated at one point when I was fresh in the car business, and my general manager would come in there and just give us the what for every meeting. Finally I went to him and I said, man, I'm doing all these things, and he said, Jake, you're the exception. 98% of people want to come to work, play on their phone, and get handed a whole bunch of money to do it. You're actually here working and, taking and doing the stuff that most people won't, I found
Jake,
that's very, oh, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, how old were you when you were working on the farm?
Oh, I grew up on, it wasn't a huge farm, but ever since I can remember.
So you had chores every day?
Every day, yes, sir.
Everybody in the house had responsibility. There was no, so the work ethic, you were probably a very good soldier too, or a military guy, because it's very obvious that your work ethic is better than most. And that we did not grow up near the farms, and we didn't know, but later in my career, I've been, working more and more around farms, but it's the work ethic. And so what your success is based on you. So, and you found something that you liked. So what cars do you like to sell? Like, where's your, do you like the new electric stuff, or are you still like a favorite sports car, or because it sounds like you do what you want to do.
Absolutely. That's a great question, Gary. So I'm in a unique position. I'm with a group there. We have, I think it's 12 stores within a 75-mile radius. So we literally have Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, Ram. We have Chevrolet, Toyota, or we have Nissan. We have Mazda. We have all the stuff. I work at a Chevy store, so it just naturally, organically, I sell more Chevys than anything, but we can sell any new vehicle. What I love to do is the first 3 steps in the road to the sale changes everything in my perception. My first 3 steps are, number 1 is a meet and greet. Number 2 is building rapport. People try to package that in one step, but I feel like building rapport is so important. We need to slow down the process in order to speed up the sale by making a best friend. Then I go into the fact find and qualify. As far as vehicles I love to sell, it's really what the customer needs. So for me, too many times people will try as a sales professional, let's push this on them. Let's send, hey, this one's got more gross, or that we've got more of this, or we da 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 da. But I really put my mouth in neutral and my ears in gear to understand the problem that the guest is trying to solve. And I'm fortunate enough to have enough inventory and things to actually solve the problem 99% of the time, because with an inventory of over, I think it's 1,400 pre-owned and, about the same new, we can find that solution to the problem that most people are looking for. But if I had to say what my favorite vehicles were, is, I'm a farm boy from Georgia. I like a Chevy Silverado.
Very, very cool.
Jake, what would be step 4? You got the 3 steps you just described. What's number 4?
So in the fact find and qualify, the 3rd step, that's what determines the 4th step. Because in my area, we are heavily involved in subprime. I'm in the panhandle of Florida, just below Alabama. We call it LA here, So 9 times, it's probably a 50-50. So that fact find and qualify, that's way more than just figuring out how much you want to pay a month. Once you really determine what's going to be the best solution by that's what determines your next step. So the next step is really 2 options. I'm either going to work the deal backwards, because I need to work it from the budget to the vehicle, or I go into vehicle selection. Now, vehicle selection is determined by what we've already gathered during the fact find and qualify, and the natural conversation we've had doing the rapport building. Because if you can come in here and you can buy whatever you want, we have to figure out what you want. But if you come in here and you may not be able to buy anything, we need to figure out what you can buy.
Awesome stuff.
It's scary that we're still at a point where you still have salespeople trying to sell what they want to sell rather than finding out what the customers want to buy.
It's so crazy. I say that all the time. I tell people, when I first meet you, I tell you, hey, listen, I was 44 before I sold my first car, so I do everything the opposite of what I hated buying cars. I'm going to listen to you. We're going to come up with the best solution to your car problem. I'm in the people business. I just use cars to meet you. So you're right, man. It's so crazy, because most salespeople have a preconceived notion that I need to make as much as possible on this particular transaction. Whereas I'm so much the other way that I am so determined I'm going to build a relationship with this person in front of me, because that relationship will in turn pay my results for a lifetime. It's the same concept that we've all heard in this room, I'm sure. If you feed a man, you give a man a fish, you'll feed him for a day. If you teach him how to fish, you'll feed him for a lifetime. Well, I believe in that relationship over transaction.
Well,
Our problem, Jake, in our industry, excuse me one second, Garrett. Our problem in our industry is we don't think long term. We don't I always say these customers are not annoyances, they're annuities. They can bring us so much business in fixed, in variable, but we've got to make them feel that we appreciate them and we appreciate their business.
100%. It's funny you say that, because when I go into the service lounge, I always lead with gratitude. I guarantee you, if you start any conversation with gratitude, it usually turns out to be a pretty good conversation. Because whenever I go into the service lounge, I always make it a point. Hey guys, as an employee here at Sandy Sansing Milton Chevrolet, we appreciate you coming here. You could have went to Jiffy Lube down the road. You could have went to anywhere, but y'all chose to come here. And you feed my kids by doing that. So I'm always going to have an attitude of gratitude, just like everybody here. We appreciate you guys coming. Now, like I said, I've got 8 kids, so make sure you come back. You know, we we appreciate you guys being here, but you know, anything you need. I mean, seriously, anything you guys need, I'm right there. I have an Elvis gnome on my desk. I'm like right there where that Elvis gnome is. So if you need anything, let me know. Even if it's, you know, I need a ride home, or I need to see if I can get a vehicle, a new vehicle at the same, you know, payment, or whatever you guys need, let me know. I had a guest just the other day. This happened, true story. They're aggravated at this point. Jake, I'm glad you asked. We've been here for such a long time, and you know, I need to get home, and so on and so on. So I took them home. You know, they were completely aggravated. The service advisor was ignoring them, and you know, and I don't know if that was intentional, but the biggest thing is when I took them home, it turns out that they have like a 3-story home on the water, and they said, hey, look, Jake, I give out stickers instead of business cards. I gave them a sticker, and they said, hey, no matter what we do moving forward, we're always going to buy from you. And all I did was just be a good human. You know, it's really easy.
Dude, is that one of the 8?
That is. Annalie, you want to say hey? Say hi.
Hi.
Yeah. Her watch. She got a watch.
Oh,
wow.
that's so
Grammy
cute.
went and got you a watch today? Yeah. It's unique. This one is 2. So she is my youngest daughter, and I have a 2-year-old granddaughter as well, because my wife and my daughter were pregnant at the same time. Talk about, you know, father of the bride. Hilarious.
Good for you. Good for you. Hey, Jake, awesome stuff. So here's some more I'd like to know. Sounds like you got a lot of foot traffic in your store, and you're dealing with customers every day and showing up. How are you seeing the digital aspect? Where are you seeing where the connection is meeting, where digital is meeting sales now? Where are you with that?
All right. So, yeah, I'll definitely jump in on that, because let me tell you this before let me preface the answer with this. So when I first got in the car business, like I said, I was 44 years old. And when I met my wife, I had a flip phone, you know, so I told her I'm the president of the He-Man and She-Ra Smartphone Hater Club, you know. Well, I talked to my coach, because I got into the car business, and just like everybody else that first gets into the car business, I hated it. I was like, what happened? You know, I went up to the desk. I said, I'm new. I'm here. It's my first day. He said, your desk's over there. When I went back to ask him for a mouse, because there was no mouse, he cussed me out and sent me down the road. I was like, what in the world? You know? So
welcome to the car business.
Boom, baby. So the long story short of it, I figured out I'm on an island. If I'm going to be successful, it's going to be up to me. To quote the great David Long, I create my own economy, you know? So I realized
if it is to be, it's up to me.
That's right. So I took that very seriously because I had a lot of children to feed, and at that time, my wife thought I was an absolute nut job because I just quit a truck driving job because I drove a truck in between the Harley shop and selling cars, and I went in to sell cars. So I realized very, very quickly it was up to me. So I went and got training. I told my trainer, I said, hey, listen, I'm going to get a billboard. That's what we do. You know, I mean, everybody needs a billboard, right? He said, Jake, you're trying to get people to get off their phone while they're driving in order to see you in one spot and hope you can get their number or hope they can get your number. The biggest billboard in the world is the phone that's in your hand. And I said, I was military and grew up on a farm. Roger that. So I took to the interweb and I went on YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, you know, all that stuff. And he said, the biggest thing to do, Jake, is to be genuine. I have found that in an artificial intelligence world now, people are seeking genuine, authentic people, right? That authentic connection. AI is an amazing tool. I use it every day. But I did that and I just lived out loud. I tell people all the time, the idea for social media, for using it as a tool, is to be known before you are needed. If you can be known before you're needed, instead of people saying, oh, I need a vehicle, I need to search and find the right place and the right vehicle. Instead of doing that, they just go, I need a vehicle. Hey, Jake. Yeah, and that's what they do. So I took that to heart. I friended everybody that became a guest, that became Car Guy Jake family. I did celebration videos with them. I do, you know, everything. I live out loud. I'm me. I'm just me online. So digitally, I started getting a lot of traffic, and it's kind of funny. If you don't treat people like a number or a transaction, they come back. They remember you. I realized very quickly selling cars, nobody remembered who they bought from. They didn't remember how much they paid. They didn't remember how much their interest was. They remembered how the salesman made them feel. That's what they remembered. So for me, like I said, we have several stores within a certain radius. I have went to multiple stores and worked for the same organization. At one of our stores down in Pensacola, it has a ton of foot traffic. You know, it's on what we call Car City. You know, and tons of people coming in there. The store I work at now, which is Milton, Florida, which is a suburb of Pensacola, has hardly any foot traffic, you know. But I personally, I don't take any lead from the dealership at all, other than service turnovers, right? So I don't get lot ups and I don't get internet leads or anything like that. I've created my own book of business, and that's pretty much where I operate. And also, I feel like too many times people miss the mark when it comes to networking being a part of their marketing. And what do I mean by that? It's very simple. Go down to the car wash where there's 15,000 people coming through the car wash every month. Collaborate with the owner. Get your face and your QR code in that car wash, all over the car wash. Pay them back, you know, and it's a preferred purchase program. So like anybody that buys through this program, you get special incentives, you get invoice pricing, whatever the case may be, but you figure that out. But making the network connection is so important, because if you can network with groups, with businesses, with churches, with organizations, and you become, I always tell people I'm President Car Guy Jake, you know, instead of being the mayor of the town, you know, vote for Jake. You know, so it's just one of those things where I feel like that's almost more important than foot traffic. I think foot traffic is going to taper off more and more, where people don't come in prepared and people don't know what's going on.
You see what you're seeing more and more today is that if your dealership doesn't represent that online, customers are already turning them off of their radar. So there's been a lot of conversation about how if you don't move, you're going to get invisible right now. And so for everybody, that's happening. And
yes,
so and you run to the fire. You when there's, you want to know and you want to smooth it out, because you know that if you smooth it out and turn it into a process, you'll be successful. And that just comes from perseverance, hard work. I love it. I think that because you're a car guy, Jake, but you can help anybody. And because you've got a pool, of resource. You obviously got a dealer that cares, and you have a great symbiotic relationship, and you're educating everybody on the value of using the internet and using social media and reducing the need of buying leads from the big monsters and losing all that control. So you must have a real good control in your 20-mile demographic based on, your authority and your expert. So you must be really beating it with that. So
yes, sir. And if you can really narrow down and get the trust before people walk in the door, you've got it licked. Because at that point, I actually offer a 1-hour guarantee. I'll sell you a car in an hour, Gary, guaranteed.
That's beautiful.
Because you have the trust in me before you ever arrive. We can do business before you set foot on the concrete. Period.
All that friction.
All
the
friction's gone.
Take some pictures of your trade. Let me get a good look at it well before you come in here, so we don't have to do it. How's your credit? Do we need to get you pre-approved? Can you share with us some of your POI and POR? So you're already using all of those networking ability to help them with their needs, because you got to find out. So you've done it's sales, and you've done a great job by building yourself as a trusted individual. That's what you're doing. You're not snake oil. You're not trying to lower their payments. You're not trying. You're just trying to give them the best opportunity that's available today.
Absolutely. And the best part is, if you just call it what it is, it will always be what it is. In other words, I had a young ex-military guy came up. He wanted a $16,000 Ford F-150 that's lifted. It's got 166,000 miles on it. And I'm like, buddy, no problem, okay? But I want you to know, when I did a virtual tour. So I'll do a virtual tour video, inside, outside, all the way around. I show them the dings, the dents, the scratches. Here's the service report. Here's this, here's that, everything in between. And I want you to understand, here in the state of Florida, that if you drive over the curb and it breaks into two halves, call two wreckers, don't tow either half back. That's what I tell them. It is yours 100%. There's no warranty. There's no expectation of warranty. I feel like too many times the picture is painted, oh, this is an amazing car and you're going to love it and it's going to be forever, no problems at all. I say, no, this is what it is. Now you can take your time. You can get a mechanic up here. We go on the interstate. You can do whatever you want. At the end of the day, I'm the real news. I report, you decide. But when you decide, that's your decision. Granted, you're always going to have people that still come back and, want to buck that. But I just want to make it very, very clear that this is the facts. Same thing with a car, And at the end of the day, with a new car, you tell them the new stuff. I just put a video together on trim levels. Trim levels are so funny in the automotive industry, because people come in and they got a trim level in mind and they think that it's going to be the exactly same for every trim level. They don't realize that there's options.
Hey, Jake, before we have to run, I want to have you plug your show, because that's where I know you from. We're in Clubhouse every single day. And there, tell us about your show and the great people you have on it, but more importantly, when it is and such.
Yes, sir. No problem. So I host a show called Talking Cars with Car Guy Jake. It's done live on TikTok. Now, obviously I go where the traction is. TikTok is something I've really dove into since the beginning of this year. I invite guests on the show, everybody from what we say all the time, from the porter to the president, on the show. And here recently, I've been getting a lot of executives and things like that. And I recently had Brian Kramer, who's the executive leader of Cars.com. And it's formatted to where, listen, let's figure out the people side of the car business. I ask people how they got in the car business, why they stay in the car business, and where they see themselves going in the future. The conversation kind of organically goes like we have here, you know, and that first hour, that block is for that guest. That guest, no matter who they are, I want them to know we're going to let you tell your story, get your story out there. And then we have a unique opportunity like on TikTok. I'm actually live on TikTok right now doing this while we're doing this. And people can, after that hour, it's 8 p.m. Central Standard Time. Every Monday night. Monday nights at 8 p.m. Talking Cars with Car Guy Jake. So whenever I'm done and the guest is done, we can actually have people come up and ask that guest a question or ask me a question or whatever. But it's so cool. The best part I love about it is there was a guy up in Canada, 4 months in the car business, only been selling cars for 4 months. He was a technician prior to this. He said, Jake, you're the only car sales professional I ever watched on social before I became in car sales. But this guy was able to actually ask the executive leader of Cars.com questions. You know, it's such a unique opportunity in our information and our social media age to where people can go and get these type of opportunities. Like even for me, you know, I consider myself a very experienced rookie in the car business. I made it my mission to actually figure out how to be an expert because my whole focus was to help people. And I train every day of my life, 7 days a week. I train 15 minutes a day. And I have now figured out, if you would have asked me what LTV was, you know, 5 years ago, I would have been like, I don't know, is that a tractor trailer? You know? So it's one of those things, man. I love people. I fell in love with a business that I thought I would always hate after I got in it. So I got in the car business with the idea of, I don't want to be a sleazy car salesman. And now I've turned out to be one of its biggest promoters of positivity too. So, you know, what you focus on, you find. And I guarantee you, no matter how you spin it, you can always find people. And for every one person like we are out here bringing positivity to the car business, there's going to be 10 people bringing negativity to the car business. And that's perfectly fine, you know, because I'm going to save that one and give that one relationship a better experience.
Jake, that's a fabulous way to end this. We try to keep it short so we'll get more eyeballs on it. And I think I speak for Mike and Gary when I think we'd like to have you back later on. You're a heck of a guy, and we really appreciated having you on today.
I'd love to do that, Larry. Just get with me, man. This has been my honor. You guys are amazing.
Well, thank you so kindly, sir. And I'd say good selling, but I don't think anything could stop you from selling with that attitude.
Yes, sir.
Hey, Jake, what a pleasure. What a positive attitude. How, you know, you sleep well at night because you're doing the right thing. And I was looking forward to chatting with you this Friday. You didn't disappoint at all. I wish you the best. We'll see each other around on LinkedIn. And it was great having you on the show this week. Thanks.
Awesome. Thank you, guys. Y'all have a blessed day.
Just as a going away, hey, cheer up, huh? You know,
yeah, right? Like, yeah, come on. Awesome. All right, guys. Thank you so much.
Have a good weekend. Hey, happy Mother's Day. Happy Mother's Day.
Yeah.
Make sure.
Yeah, we're cooking chicken and waffles for Mother's Day brunch.
Awesome.
Awesome. Take care.